Welcome to our deep dive, everyone. Okay, it's for this Saturday's V75 at Åby, March 22nd, 2025. We're going to break down each of the 7 races. Okay, so let's jump right in with V75-1.
Okay, so we're looking at the Stowe Division, 2,140 meters, Volt start. Number 11, Be My Baby. She's a standout potential winner, according to the experts. The thing about Be My Baby is she's been in really good form differently. Like, even when things haven't gone her way, interference in a race, running with a puncture, she's shown a lot of resilience. And in her last race, she finished really strongly, even though it looked like she was tiring a bit after an early push. So she's dropping down in class slightly. And with that speed she has, this class relief could really work in her favor. So definitely one that experts are highlighting.
Okay, Be My Baby is on the radar. Now, what about this horse? Number 1, Madison Square Kiss. She's got that inside starting position, beyond Goop's driving. Usually a pretty good combination. But I'm seeing some hesitation about her in the analogies you sent over. What's the thinking there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You're right. Inside track, beyond Goop driving, those are big pluses. However, the experts are questioning whether Madison Square Kiss might be a little bit overhyped. The win she had from the lead was against what some consider to be leader competition, and then she followed that up with a gallop. So there is a trainer change to Barfota behind for this race, which is interesting. And racing without shoes can sometimes really make a difference.
Okay, so what about some of the other horses mentioned as possibilities? Love Silvio. Number 3, high capacity but inconsistent. What do we make of that?
Well, Love Silvio definitely has the ability. That's not the question. The problem, and this makes her a bit of a risky proposition, is that she's not always consistent. She can look amazing in one race and then just completely disappear in the next one. So if you're looking for a really safe bet, she might not be it. But if she brings her A game, she's absolutely got the potential to be right up there challenging the favorites.
Okay, and number 6, Mitzi Power. The intention to run barefoot is mentioned specifically.
It seems like her team really believes she's ready to deliver a strong performance, so she definitely has the capacity to have a good race under these conditions. Okay, so Sweet Day, number 15, worth considering, especially for wider selection. Has already had a race this year, which can be a real advantage fitness-wise, and she had a really strong finish in her last race. Victoria LL, number 13, consistently good performances, and if the early taste of the race suits her running style, she could definitely unleash a really strong finish. Now, that Summertime, number 4, the experts are highlighting her as a particularly interesting long shot. She had a good showing in her last race, and the feeling is she might be nearing peak condition. So if things go her way, she could definitely upset some of the favorites. Okay, let's move on to V75-2.
V75-2.
This is a Class 3 race, 2,104 meters auto start. And this race is, I think, particularly fascinating because we've got a number of horses who are clearly talented but haven't quite proven themselves yet at this level. So a bit of a question mark, how they'll perform.
So number 3, Langley, seems to be generating some excitement despite a bit of a patchy record, some inconsistency there, some breaks in gait or galops as they call it. What makes him a potential factor here?
Langley definitely has a lot of talent, no question. And he had a good win in his first start of the year, and the feeling is he will have improved further from that run. What's also interesting is the mention of a potential Zhang Caravan. So combining his natural ability, the recent win, and this potential equipment change, he's definitely one that the experts are watching.
Okay, so we've got number 1, Global Futurity, undefeated in 4 starts. That's got to be a pretty compelling record.
Yeah, absolutely. Global Futurity has done everything right so far, showing good attitude, strength, speed in all his races. Now, this is going to be his first time starting behind a car, with the auto start, and that requires a horse to accelerate quickly and maintain position as the gate moves away. It's a different dynamic to a full start, so it'll be interesting to see how he handles that. But if he gets a clean start, maybe even takes the lead from that inside position, given his previous form, he's going to be tough to beat.
Okay. And another undefeated horse in the field is Caspian Bro, number 2. What's the assessment of his chances as he steps up in class here?
Yeah, Caspian Bro is also undefeated, but he is very inexperienced, and he's moving up in class here to this class, the 3rd race. Now, despite that lack of experience, he's still considered an early contender by some experts, so he's clearly shown some raw talent. It's going to be a real test for him, see how he measures up against some tougher competition.
Okay, so we've got number 5, No Limit River, mentioned for his early speed, and a planned equipment change, barefoot with a bike. How does that impact his prospects?
No Limit River's got good speed right from the start, and they're planning to race him barefoot with a bike, which is another type of sulky often associated with speed. So that suggests they really want to utilize that early pace, which could give him an early advantage, maybe allow him to get into a good position early on.
And number 8, Nagoya. seems to be a horse that's on an upward trajectory. What's catching the eye of the experts here?
Nagoya has been showing some really strong development in recent races, including a win where he used a new sulky, and they're also planning to race him barefoot. So, he's clearly a horse who's improving and could be a bit of a dark horse in this race.
Okay, so we've got number 11, Deadly Map. He gets a mention despite that outside starting position. Why is he still considered a factor?
Deadly Map, he's only had a few starts, but he did have a really good performance in a previous V75 race. So even from that wider starting position, that previous performance suggests he definitely has the ability to be competitive here if the race goes his way. Okay, shall we move on to V75-3?
V75-3.
Okay, this is the Bronze Division, 2,140 meters vault start, but this one has a handicap element. They call it gold on handicap, which means horses that have earned more prize money will start further back. So that adds an extra layer of complexity.
So we've got number 11, Beer Time, identified as a potential favorite, despite drawing what, on the surface seems like a bit of a less than ideal starting position. What's giving the experts confidence in him?
Well, Beer Time's been in really good form recently, and he's a high-class horse. And while starting further back in a vault start can be a disadvantage, the experts believe his speed is good enough to overcome that. He's been consistently showing top form, and that class edge, that really makes him a leading contender.
Okay. We've got number 7, Postek Veridout. He's making his comeback after a pretty long break. What should we know about his prospects in this race?
Yeah, Postek Veridout's been off the track for almost a year because of a stress fracture, but he has drawn a really good starting position. And, given the time off, you'd expect him to be well prepared for this return. He even mentioned a promising workout time. So, sounds like he's fit and ready to compete.
Okay. Number 8, DeLuca Mo. A lot of hype around him before his debut, but maybe didn't quite live up to it immediately. Why is he still considered a potential surprise package?
Yeah, DeLuca Mo, there was definitely a lot of anticipation before his first start under new management. He looked physically impressive, but seemed to tire towards the end of that race. Now the feeling is he's capable of much better than what he showed that day. So he's definitely one that could surprise if things go his way this time.
Number 4, Dad's Tory. He's in good form and has a top driver likely to be in the sulky. How does he fit into the picture?
Detztor has been showing really good form, including a win just 3 starts back. He's better when he can get a trip behind the leader and then use his speed in the later stages.
Okay. We also see mentions of Husiboko and Jubi Vang. What's the takeaway there?
Husiboko, number 12, almost won his last race, so he's clearly in good form. If he gets a bit of luck, maybe if he could run behind a horse like Beer Time, he could definitely be a factor in the finish. And Jubi Vang, number 3, he's a capable horse under new ownership, which can sometimes, be a good thing for a horse's performance. So he's a potential factor, maybe not a top favorite, but one to keep an eye on. Okay, should we move on to V75-4?
V75-4.
All right, Class I race, 2,640 meters, auto start. So a longer distance here, stamina is going to be important.
So we've got number 1, Mind Your Love WF. Had a bit of a mishap in his last race with a break at the start, but seems to have recovered well. What's the view on his chances over this longer distance?
Yeah, Mind Your Love WF, he did recover well after that false start. He even clocked a good partial time. Now, this will be his first time racing over this distance, 2,640 meters, but he's considered to have a good chance of at least getting a place.
Okay, so we've got number 2, Global Commission, very dominant performance in his last race. Does that translate well to this longer distance?
Global Commission was really impressive last time out. He overcame a difficult starting position on the outside and won convincingly. He also had a very fast time over the last 1,000 meters, and the longer distance is actually expected to suit him based on that performance.
Number 3, Esteban Bar. Very promising horse. Recent win over this same distance. That sounds like a strong recommendation.
Esteban Bar is definitely one to watch. He impressed with that recent win over 2,640 meters, showing he can handle the distance well. He did have a break in one of his previous races, but he's considered a potential winner here and a horse who's continuing to improve.
We also see Patriot Son and Jacques Mira mentioned as potential contenders. What should we know about them?
Okay, Patriot Zone, number 10, he made a really good impression last time out. Now, all of his wins have come when he's been leading, but he has shown that he can race from behind as well. Jacques Marat, number 11, won his last race, even though he wasn't reported to be fully fit. And he's got a decent starting position here. So both of these horses are definitely in the mix.
It looks like there are a couple of interesting long shots identified in this race. Tell me about them.
Okay, so Vanquish, number 9, good performance racing on the outside in his last start. Now they're switching him to a barefoot balance. And Karl Johan Jeppsson, Jepsen, a very good driver, is in the sulky. So, that makes him a very interesting long shot. And then we have Deschambault, number 7. He showed some toughness by holding on well after a puncture in his last race. And he usually handles this longer distance. So he's another one to consider if you're looking for some value bets. Shall we move on to V75?
V75-5, let's do it.
All right, Class 2 race, 2,140 meters, auto start. And this race looks like it has a really strong favorite.
Number 1, Lupin Maris. The experts seem pretty confident about his chances here.
Yeah, Lupin Maris has drawn what's considered the perfect starting position, and he's expected to take the early lead. His performance in his last race was really good, and a lot of experts believe he has an excellent chance of winning this race. One expert even has him as their best bet of the day.
Okay, so who are the main challengers to Lupin Maris in this race?
Well, number 5, Go Kenneth Go. He's been in really good form, 2 recent wins, and he looks like he's still developing. He can do some work in a race, so he's a solid contender. Number 11, Nash Keeper, consistent performer, has a good finishing sprint. If the pace is fast early on, it could set things up nicely for him to come from behind and maybe snatch the win.
Are there any long shots in this race worth knowing about?
Yeah, a couple. Number 2, Makir HTV. He's shown some potential when he doesn't make mistakes at the start or get stuck in traffic, and he's got a good starting position on the inside here. He's one that's been highlighted as a decent long shot. Number 12, Conte. He's reportedly training really well, but he's drawn the outside starting position, which is a big disadvantage, so he's more of a long shot because of that. And then there's Glucose, number 6. Good finish in his last race, racing barefoot all around. Could be a bit of a surprise.
And we should mention number 3, Treacolt's Diamant, convincing win from the lead in his last race, fast starter. How does he fit in here from that good starting position?
Absolutely. Jerkolt's Diamant, he is a quick starter, and from that good position, he's likely to be pushed to the front again. So definitely a horse to consider, especially if he can get to the lead without too much effort. Okay, on to V75-6.
Let's do it.
Okay, this is the Silver Division 1,640 meters auto start. So a sprint race, things will happen very quickly here.
And number 2, Winter Brody, he's been in some fantastic form.
Winter Brada has been amazing throughout the winter, even challenging a top horse decision maker while racing on the outside. He's got a perfect starting position here, so he's almost guaranteed a good run and is considered a very strong contender for the win.
Now, in a sprint race, surely there are other horses with some serious speed that could challenge him, like number 4, Comes With Age?
Yeah, Comes With Age hasn't been at his absolute best recently, but he does have a lot of natural speed and ability, and he's likely to get a good position early on, especially if he races barefoot as expected. So yeah, he could definitely challenge for the lead.
And even though number 10, Switch the Cash, has a tough starting position out wide, his form this year has been incredible.
Switch the Cash has been brilliant this year. Now, that starting position is a concern, but he's still considered a contender by some experts. He'll need a good, strong pace to develop and a bit of racing luck to overcome that wide draw. But yeah, he can't be discounted.
So there are a number of other horses mentioned in this race. Who should we be keeping an eye on?
All right, so Felipe BJ, number 9, she's got a really strong finishing sprint. So if the race unfolds in a way that suits her, she could be dangerous at the end. Gatling, number 3, capable of taking the lead, potentially getting into a good position for that final sprint. Mizai, number 7, this is his first start of the year, but he's known for his speed. So he's an interesting one to watch, especially early on. Palmy Gleipner, number 1, he hasn't raced since November, but he's usually a very good starter. So if he's in a form, he could be a threat down the stretch. And SG Mistral, number 5, showing some positive signs lately, capable of a fast start. Could be a surprise if he gets a good trip and races barefoot. All right, on to the final race, V75-7.
V75-7, the last one.
The Diamants to it, race for mares, 2,140 meters, auto start.
And we have number 4, Darlington Fame, in incredible form. Is she the one to beat here?
Darlington Fame has been in top form for a while now, and she seems to be getting better. She's got a good chance of taking the lead in this race, and from there, she's definitely the horse to beat.
But number 9, Nikki Lane, showed some real speed in her first race of the year. Could she be a threat coming from behind?
Nikki Lane had a really impressive final sprint in her first race this year, and she should be even fitter now. If she gets a good trip, maybe sits behind the leaders, saves her energy, she could be very dangerous in the final stages. She's definitely a key challenger to Darlington Fame.
Dilvajet, number 12, lots of talent, but a tough starting position. Is she still a factor?
Dilvajet, yeah, she's very talented. Her last performance was just okay, but she's racing barefoot this time. However, that starting position way out in lane 12, that's going to make things difficult. But, you can't rule her out completely, given her ability.
Okay, so what about some of the other mares in this race? Any other potential winners or long shots to keep in mind?
Okay, so Cafe Champagne, number 2, tougher competition this time around. Ultraviolet, number 3, showing improvement, but she probably needs a covered trip to really be a factor. Hearts, number 6, consistent, races well from different positions, so a potential long shot. Marabou Brada, number 8, been in really good form, fast starter, but that starting position makes her more of a long shot. We encourage you to watch the races on Saturday, see how these insights play out in real time. Should be a really interesting V75. Thanks for joining us.